Mordecai the Jew, a biblical portrait. Mordecai the Jew, a central figure in the book of Esther, stands as a model of loyalty, integrity, and godly wisdom in the midst of a foreign and often hostile empire. Living in exile in the Persian capital of Susa, Mordecai rises to prominence not through wealth or power, but through his faithfulness to God, his people, and his convictions. His story, intertwined with that of his cousin Esther, demonstrates how quiet faithfulness and courageous action can bring about divine deliverance for an entire nation. Mordecai was from the tribe of Benjamin, a descendant of Kish, the same lineage as King Saul, Esther 2:5. Though a Jew in exile under Persian rule, he maintained a strong sense of identity and responsibility. One of his most defining characteristics was his role as guardian and adoptive father to Esther, whom he had raised after the death of her parents. This act alone speaks to his compassionate and nurturing spirit, and throughout the narrative, he continues to offer her wise counsel, even after she becomes queen. Mordecai's presence at the king's gate, likely a place of governmental affairs, suggests he held some minor official position. It was there he uncovered a plot to assassinate King Ahasuerus and informed the king through Esther, an act that was recorded in the royal chronicles, Esther 2:21-23. Though unrewarded at first, this deed would later become a turning point in the story of Jewish deliverance. Mordecai's diligence, even in seemingly small matters, reflects a life lived with integrity and an unwavering commitment to justice. Perhaps the most well-known moment in Mordecai's story comes with his refusal to bow to Haman, the Agagite, who had been elevated to a high position in the Persian court. Mordecai's refusal was not a matter of pride, but of conscience. As a Jew, he could not honor a man descended from the Amalekites, enemies of Israel, nor one who demanded the kind of reverence that belonged to God alone. His defiance infuriated Haman, who then plotted to annihilate all the Jews in the empire. When the decree of destruction was issued, Mordecai tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, and mourned publicly. Yet he did not remain in despair. Instead, he sent a message to Esther, urging her to intercede with the king on behalf of her people. It was Mordecai who reminded her of her divine positioning, asking, "Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Esther 4:14. This pivotal moment revealed his spiritual insight and his ability to recognize God's providence even when it was not overtly visible. Mordecai's wisdom was matched by his courage and perseverance. While Esther confronted the king, Mordecai continued to endure Haman's wrath. At one point, Haman built gallows on which to hang him, but God's timing reversed the situation. On the very night Haman planned Mordecai's execution, the king could not sleep and had the royal records read to him, where he rediscovered Mordecai's unrewarded act of loyalty. Ironically, Haman was ordered to honor Mordecai publicly, leading him through the streets on the king's horse, Esther 6:10-11. After Haman's fall and execution, Mordecai rose to power, replacing Haman as second in rank to the king. Yet even in power, he remained faithful to his people and to his God. He issued a new decree in the king's name, allowing the Jews to defend themselves against their enemies. His leadership brought peace and security to the Jewish community throughout the empire. The Jews celebrated their deliverance with joy and feasting, establishing the festival of Purim, which Mordecai and Esther together instituted as a lasting memorial to God's faithfulness. Esther 9:20-22. Mordecai's legacy is summarized at the end of the book. For Mordecai the Jew was second in rank to King Ahasuerus, and he was great among the Jews and well received by the multitude of his brethren, seeking the good of his people and speaking peace to all his countrymen. Esther 10:3. This final description encapsulates the man's character, faithful in adversity, humble in exaltation, and always committed to the welfare of his people. In the biblical portrait of Mordecai, we see a man of deep convictions who lived out his faith in both private and public spheres. He was not a prophet, priest, or king. Yet God used him mightily to preserve his covenant people. Mordecai reminds us that spiritual greatness is not measured by titles, but by faithfulness, courage, and the willingness to act when others remain silent. His story teaches that even in exile and under pressure, God's people can stand firm, speak truth, and make a lasting impact for generations to come.